In this video, we're going to create a magnetic item collection system similar to games like Stardew Valley, Graveyard Keeper, and even games like Dead Cells, where items are attracted to the player and collected automatically when they get close enough. So to accomplish this, I already have a basic tile map set up. Go into the project settings, and I already have my input mappings already queued up. Let's go to the physics layers. I have 4 physics layers for a player, items, a magnet, and collection, which we will go over later. I also have just 2 NPCs really. They're just going to hang out in these towers, and my character, which inside of the character script is just a very basic movement script. So all we are doing right now, we just have the ability to walk around. So right off the bat, let's go into, I've created a couple folders here. Let's go into the items folder and let's create a new scene. We're going to call this item and we're going to change the type. We're going to make it an area. Let me fix this window. We're going to call it an area 2D. We are going to give it a sprite 2D and a collision shape. So this is going to be our base item. So we're not going to assign a sprite or a collision shape directly to the base class. But we are going to need to make a script for this base item class. Let's just give it a class name of item. And we're actually not going to need any of this. We are going to have an onReady variable of our sprite. Let's just get rid of the 2D bit on the back end of the variable name. Then we're going to have an export variable of underscore item name, which is a string. We're going to do the underscore because we are going to have a getter variable for this, just so we don't need a method to return our string name. And we're going to have a variable for our item name, which is a string. And let's just get it, and we're going to return the underscore item name. Another key component for this area 2D is we need to set up the collision layers and masks. So layer 2 is my items. I can get rid of layer 1, and I'm going to put the mask on 3 and 4. We're going to want this to mask with our magnet zone and our collection zone, which we are going to implement on our player in a little bit. Now we're going to make 3 new scenes. So let's create a scene for gold. Let's again change this to be our area 2D. We're going to give it a sprite, and we're going to give it a collision shape. So let's save this. We are going to go in to a script called gold.gd, and we can give it a class name of gold and make sure that we extend our item class. And all we're going to do here is go over to our item. We're just going to name it gold. Let's make sure that we have the collision shape set up. So we're going to be on 2, mask for 3 and 4. Let's go into our texture and in assets, which I will link in the description. We're going to use our gold right here. And let's just give it a basic circle collision shape. That will be fine. Now we're also going to do this with meat, and we're going to do this with wood. So let's start off with meat. We're going to change the type in area 2D. Let's create our sprite. Let's add a collision shape. Our sprite 2D, this will be easy to find. We got our meat here. Add the collision shape. These don't need to be perfectly covering it. It's all going to be fine. Let's save our scene. Make sure the collision shapes are set up. Oops, did these backwards. Okay. And we need to attach our item script to it. And we can give it the item name of meat. And actually, I didn't need to create the gold.gd. Let's just get rid of that for now. Let's create our wood. Let's change this type again to an area 2D. Add our sprite. Add our collision shape. For the sprite, it's going to be this one right here for the wood. Let's go into the 2D. Let's add a collision shape. We'll do a circle, and that should be fine. Save this scene, attach the item script. We can click back up into our area 2D and just name it wood. And before we forget, let's do our collision shapes. So put it on the items layer, 2, 3, and 4. And then before we actually go and update the player script, I do want to set up a basic UI for us so we can actually see how many of these items that we've collected so far. If you're not interested in this, you can skip forward. I'll put a timestamp in a comment below if you just want to skip through that and just go straight to the player stuff. But for anyone who wants to do a UI, stick around. All right, let's go into our UI folder and we're going to create a new scene. Let's just call it our inventory UI. We're going to make this a canvas layer. Let's save that. And while we're at it, before you forget, let's just create this script. We'll give it a class name of inventory UI and just save that. And let's just go back to our scene for right now. We're going to add a texture rect. I'm going to rename this to be called banner. As a child of that, we're going to have an HBox container, and then we are going to have 3 VBox containers as a child of our HBox, and these are going to be our wood container. We're going to have our meat container and our gold container. In our banner, what we're going to do is just get a texture for the banner. So I have a banner included in here. Let me find it. It's called this carved 3 slides. And I'm going to give it a custom minimum size of 300 by 100. You can adjust this if you think it looks a little too big, but this should be fine for our purposes right now. And our HBox container is going to need to be a full rect. We want to cover all of this, but we're going to customize it a little bit. So I don't want, if we do this, we're going to be fully pushed up against the left and right with our symbols or for the meat and the gold, etc. So we're going to change our offsets a little bit. So I'm just going to bring these in. We'll call it about, we'll do 30 pixels here on the right and left. Oh, sorry, this should be -30. And then on the top, let's just bring it up about, yeah, -20 and 20. I'm also going to place this entire banner. I want this to be in the top right for me. You can put it wherever you want. Either way, inside of each of our containers, we are going to add a texture rect, which is where we're going to put the wood sprite from. So let's just add these textures here. And then we're going to need a label for each of these, which is going to keep the count or the amount of how many of each resource that we're going to be holding. So let's go into our wood container, and we're going to handle these a little bit different than our items. Since these are a little bit odd on the textures, we're going to use an atlas texture here, and let's drag in the wood. So we're going to go and edit the region, and we're just going to bring this down into all of the pixels and space that we are going to need. So I'm giving kind of like 1 pixel on each side. We can close that. And then in our label, let's just put 0 for now. And I know we did VBox containers. This was a mistake on my end. We actually want an HBox container for all these. So let's change these real quick. We want to go back into our texture rect here. And in our scale, we want to do keep aspect and center it. And for my label, I want this to be kind of down and to the left of the icon that it's going to be next to. So we're going to go into our layout and do a custom minimum size where we have a 48 on the height. And then we are going to do the vertical alignment here and be on the bottom. Okay, so now that we have that set up, let's go and work on the others here. So let's go to the meat. Let's go find our meat here, but make sure we're going to select an atlas texture. Let's drag that in. We're going to go edit the region. Let's do the same thing here. We can close it. Let's go down and the scale again, keep aspect centered. Label, we're going to overwrite this anyway, so let's just do 0. The vertical alignment, bottom, and the layout, custom minimum size, 48. Lastly, for our gold, let's do the same thing to get this set up. Atlas texture, drag in the gold. Let's edit this region. Okay. Keep aspect centered. Let's add our text here. Vertical alignment bottom. And lastly, 48 on the Y. So I don't really like how this looks, like the zero is way too far away from the wood. So we're going to go into our HBox wood container, theme overrides and constants. And I'm actually going to bring this a little bit closer to the wood. And we can do that for each of these two, for each resource. Let's bring it a little bit closer. You don't want it to be too close, because then if you hit double digits, it might override with the icon. So let's just be mindful of that. Bring it a little bit closer. And now that we've changed these margins, I do want to go back to this container, and let's make sure that we are purely in the center. So we could possibly have more margins between each of these now, like that. Just double click the center, make sure we're good. Okay. This is just going to be, for me, again, you don't need to do this, but I do want to make a resource here. So we're going to go into our UI. We're going to create a new resource, and we're going to make a theme. We'll just call it our UI theme. And I want to use on labels. We're going to go to the font. We want to add a new font file. Again, I'll link to all of this, but I want to add a specific font. I want to go to the color, and the font color is going to be white. The font outline is going to be black. And then I want the outline size to be a little bit bigger. And let's save this and let's apply it to this wood container here, just so we can see how this is going to look. So we can do that. That's what it's going to look like. We'll apply it to the others too, so we can see our changes in real time. Okay, back down to the theme. Let's change our font size to be, I'm going to do, I think 32. Yeah, I think that's good for now. And then lastly, let's just make the outline a little bigger. Okay. Save that. And that is it for the UI. So let's actually start working on our player script now, so we can actually pick up some items. Let's bring up the script, and we're going to need a couple of things here. We can bring first and foremost our inventory UI, but now we need two area 2Ds. The first one is going to be our magnet zone. The second one is going to be our collection zone. So the magnet zone is going to be the range at which items start getting drawn towards us, and then if the item hits the collection zone, we actually collect them. So let's add a collision shape to each of these. The magnet zone collision is going to be on 3, and we're going to mask 4 items. And the collection zone is going to be on 4 and mask 4 items. We can give these collision shapes now too. So I'm going to do circles for both. The magnet is going to be bigger just for effect, so I'll do that. And then we'll do another circle shape 2D. For our collection zone, it is going to just really be anywhere in here. I think that's fine. Back to the script. We are going to need our collection zone as an onReady. We're going to need the inventory UI as an onReady. We're going to need a new constant for our attraction speed, which is a float, and we're just going to do 150. And then we're going to need 2 other variables. We're going to need attracted items, which is an array of our item type, and will equal an empty array. And then lastly, we're going to have our inventory, which is a dictionary, and we will default to an empty dictionary. So you'll see what we do with these, but attracted items are going to be, if they are in our magnet zone, they're going to be in this array of our items. And then inventory is just going to keep track of all the inventory that we have. So everything here is fine. We're going to do what we need to do after the move and slide. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do for item in attracted items. We're going to get our direction to the player. So they are going to be being drawn to the direction that we are in. So we're going to get the global position minus the item global position. Just make some space here, and then we get our item dot position plus equals the direction to the player. We're going to normalize it, multiply the delta, and the attraction speed. And we're going to need to connect to some signals. So let's click in our collection zone, and in node, we're going to only need on area entered here. In our magnet zone, we're going to need area entered and area exited. We're also going to need a method that we're going to call collect item. And we're just going to give it an item. We're not going to return anything, and let's just pass for now. We're going to need to add to our inventory UI script in order to complete this. But for right now, let's just build out these methods here. So on the collection zone entered, we're just going to check if our area is an item. And if it is, we're going to collect item. And we're going to pass in the area. In our on magnet zone entered, the area is our item. Go to our attracted items, and we append the area. And lastly, on the magnet zone, area exited. The area is an item. We attracted items, and we're going to erase the area. So if our player moves too far away from the item is no longer going to be attracted to our player. So if you don't want that to function like that, you can get rid of this. Now for collect item, let's go back to our inventory UI and go to the script. And in here, let's just get some on readies. We're only going to need the labels for each of our containers. Let's rename these. We'll just call the first one wood, the second one can be meat, and the last one can be gold. We're going to create a method just called update inventory, which takes in an item, a count. We are just going to match our item on their item name. So we'll do wood.text is going to equal the string on the count. The meat is going to be meat.text on the count. Lastly, gold will be our gold.text string on the count. And the I in it needs to be an underscore. That's why we're getting that error. Okay, so let's go back to our player script, and now we can build out the collect item. So we're going to do if not inventory.has, and we're going to pass in the item's name. We'll do inventory and then square brackets on the item.name. We're going to have it equal 0. And then we do inventory name again, plus equals 1. Then we're going to get our inventory UI, and we are going to update the inventory, pass in the item, and the inventory, and then the item.item name. Now we can do item.queueFree, so we'll just get rid of the item. Now we can actually add items to our main scene. So I have an items node I want to keep them in. So I'm going to add all of the items there. I realize my meat and wood scenes are not in my items folder, so I'll just drag those. We'll add a wood, meat, and a gold. I just need to, I think, update the ordering of these. Yep, okay. So it looks like I want them to be behind the player though. So let's grab the wood, bring it here, the meat, bring it here, and the gold, bring it there. Let's go to the meat, change the ordering, just go up to 10, and then the ordering here, 10, and let's play this. There we go. Okay, this is supposed to be item and then item name. So now let's replay this and did it again here. Let's replay this and now we're working. Okay, and the counts are updating in the top right. So if we want, let's just start dragging items in here. So yeah, we can go in and add as many items as we want. Now we're collecting them. Obviously this kind of came over the little wall here. You can definitely fix that if you don't want to, but it's pretty easy to set this magnet system up for your item collection.